The scar tissue pulled tight when it rained. Kang Minjae stood at the window of the cramped apartment in Busan, 300 miles from Hanul City, a lifetime from the penthouse he'd once called home, and watched water streak down the glass. His hand moved unconsciously to his chest, tracing the ridge of healed flesh where Seong-hun's bullet had torn through muscle and bone. The doctors said it was a miracle he'd survived. Minjae knew better. It was Adesewa's stubbornness and Seong-hun's calculated mercy. 6 months ago, he'd woken in a private medical facility, tubes in his chest, morphine clouding his mind. His mother had been there, sitting in a chair by his bed like a portrait of maternal concern. "You survived," she'd said, no warmth, just observation. "Adesewa, where is she?" "Safe, unharmed, darling, thanks to your dramatic rescue." His mother had stood, smoothing her cream suit. The warehouse was unfortunate. Director Kwan's people were more aggressive than anticipated. But you're alive, that's what matters. Even through the drug haze, Minjae had known something was wrong. The way she said it, too practiced, too calm. Seong-hun did what was necessary. Kwan's people shot you. Seong-hun eliminated them. You should be grateful. She'd touched his shoulder, clinical, not affectionate. "You'll recover here, quietly. The syndicate believes you're dead. It's better that way." "I need to see her." "No." The word was gentle, but absolute. "You nearly died because of your attachment to that woman. She's a liability, a weakness your enemies will exploit. The only reason you survived is because she dragged you from that warehouse. And the only reason she survived is luck. She saved my life, and almost got you both killed in the process." His mother had moved to the door. "You'll stay here, heal, and when you're strong enough, we'll discuss your future. A future that doesn't include distractions." "Adesewa isn't a distraction. She's exactly that." His mother's voice had turned cold. "And if you care about her survival, you'll stay away from her. Let her move on, live the normal life she deserves, because the alternative is watching her die because she loves you." She'd left him there, broken and bleeding and trapped. For 3 months, he'd believed her, had convinced himself that staying away was noble, protective, the right thing to do. Then he'd realized the truth. His mother wasn't protecting Adesewa. She was controlling him. Now, 6 months later, Minjae was healed, stronger, and done being controlled. "You're bleeding through again," said Kim Dae-ho, the former street soldier who'd become Minjae's only companion in exile. He gestured to the red stains spreading across Minjae's white shirt. "It's nothing. It's been 6 months. That wound should have healed." "Some wounds don't." Minjae turned from the window. "Pack everything. We're leaving." "Leaving? Your mother said—" "I don't care what my mother said." Minjae grabbed his jacket. "I just got word that Adesewa is meeting with mid-tier operators, building connections in the underworld. Watch, she's walking into the same world that almost killed us both. Maybe she can handle herself. She shouldn't have to." Minjae checked his gun, a habit from another life. "I left her alone for 6 months because my mother convinced me it was safer. But she's not safer. She's just fighting alone. And I'm done letting that happen. Your mother will be furious." "Good." Minjae's smile was cold. "Let her be furious. I'm done being her obedient son." "What changed?" Minjae pulled out his phone, showing Dae-ho a surveillance photo he'd paid for. Adesewa leaving a meeting with known syndicate operators, alone, unprotected. She changed. She became someone who fights back, someone who doesn't wait to be saved. He pocketed the phone. "And I realized that loving her doesn't make me weak. And it makes me unwilling to live in a world where she's in danger, and I'm hiding in Busan pretending that's noble. So we go back. We go back." Minjae headed for the door. "And this time I don't leave, no matter what my mother threatens. No matter what happens, I'm done walking away." If you're ready for the most dangerous love story of your life, hit that subscribe button now. Part 2 is going to break you in the best way. Drop a comment telling me, should Adesewa forgive him for leaving? Let's go. The boardroom fell silent when Adesewa walked in. She'd learned that power wasn't about being the loudest voice in the room. It was about being the one everyone watched, waiting to see what you'd do next. Gentlemen, she said, setting her leather portfolio on the polished conference table. Thank you for agreeing to meet. The three Korean men in expensive suits exchanged glances. Park Jin-woo, Lee Sang-min, and Choi Hyun-sok, all mid-tier operators in what remained of the fractured Hanul City underworld, all desperate for leverage in a power vacuum. All, though they didn't know it yet, being watched by the chairwoman. Miss Akinwell, Park said, his Korean careful and condescending, we were surprised by your request. What could a business consultant possibly want with us? Adesewa smiled. It didn't reach her eyes. When I have information about the chairwoman's next consolidation move, she's planning to absorb your territories within the month. Unless, of course, you prefer to negotiate a merger on your own terms first. The room temperature dropped 10 degrees. That's a serious accusation, Lee said quietly. It's not an accusation. It's a fact. Adesewa pulled out 3 folders, sliding one to each man. Inside, you'll find documentation of property transfers, shell company formations, and movement orders for her enforcement teams. Everything you need to verify what I'm telling you. Choi opened his folder, his expression darkening as he scanned the contents. How did you get this? That's not your concern. What matters is what you do with it. And what do you want in return? Park's eyes narrowed. Information this valuable doesn't come free. I want 3 things. Adesewa held up one finger. First, you form a coalition. Stop fighting each other and start watching the real threat. A second finger. Second, you refuse any merger offers from the chairwoman for the next 6 months. Make her work for what she wants. A third finger. Third, when I ask for a favor, and I will ask, you don't question it, you simply deliver. Silence. You're asking us to trust you, Lee said finally. A woman we don't know, with no background in our world. I'm asking you to trust self-interest, Adesewa corrected. The chairwoman will consume you piece by piece if you let her. I'm offering you the chance to survive long enough to matter. Why? Choi leaned forward. What's your angle? What do you get out of this? Adesewa's smile turned sharp. I get to watch her empire crack. And when it does, I'll be there to make sure it shatters completely. Understanding dawned on Park's face. This is about Kang Minjae. This is about me, Adesewa said coldly. Minjae made his choices. I'm making mine. She stood gathering her portfolio. You have 48 hours to decide. After that, the offer expires and you're on your own. She was halfway to the door when Lee spoke. They say you were the one who dragged him out of that warehouse, that you saved his life. Adesewa paused but didn't turn around. I did. And then? And then he chose to leave, to stay in Busan while I rebuilt my life here. So whatever we were, we're not anymore. Do you still love him? Choi asked. Adesewa's hands clenched around her portfolio. That's none of your business. She left without looking back. Outside the building, Adesewa's hands finally shook. 6 months. 6 months since Minjae had appeared on that rooftop garden, alive but leaving. 6 months since he'd kissed her forehead and walked away into exile because his mother had convinced him it was safer. 6 months of rebuilding herself from the woman who'd nearly died, saving him into someone who could survive without him. The memory was still vivid. The rooftop garden where they'd once shared wine and dreams. Minjae appearing from the shadows, thinner, scarred, but alive. You came, she'd said, relief and joy flooding through her. I couldn't stay away forever. Then don't, stay. We'll figure this out together. But he'd shaken his head. My mother was right. Being with me puts you in danger. The warehouse proved that. I almost got you killed. I chose to be there. I chose to save you. And I'm choosing to keep you safe, even if that means staying away. He'd cupped her face. I love you too much to watch you die because of me. That's not your choice to make? Yes, it is, because I'm the one who brought this world into your life. I'm the one who made you a target, and I'm the one who needs to remove that target by removing myself. He'd kissed her. Soft. Final. Be happy, Adesewa. Live. That's all I ever wanted. Then he'd walked away, disappearing into the darkness. And Adesewa had been left alone in the garden, heart shattered, watching the man she loved choose noble isolation over fighting for them. She'd cried for 3 days. Then she'd gotten angry, and anger, she'd learned, was far more useful than grief. So she'd started building, learning, preparing, becoming someone who didn't need Kang Minjae's protection because she could protect herself. Now, 6 months later, she was done being the woman who waited. She was the woman who acted. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Careful. Park reports directly to the chairwoman. Your meeting was monitored. A friend. Adesewa stared at the message. She'd suspected as much, had planned for it. The information she'd given them was real, but incomplete. Bait to see who took it and where it went. Now she knew. Park was compromised. Good. She could work with that. She typed back, I know, that was the point. Keep sending updates. The response came instantly. You're playing a dangerous game. She knows about me, too. We're both on borrowed time. Adesewa's fingers hesitated. Who are you? Someone trying to fix what he broke. Meet me. Tonight, midnight, old docks. Come alone. Xiong-hun, it had to be. The man who'd shot Minjae. The man who might hold the key to destroying the chairwoman. Adesewa deleted the messages and headed for her car. 6 months ago, she would have been terrified. Now she was just ready. Bak Xiong-hun had forgotten what safety felt like. He moved through the back alleys of Hanul City's industrial district, performing the elaborate dance of someone being hunted. But it was all theater, because Xiong-hun wasn't hiding from the chairwoman. He was working for her. 3 months ago, she'd found him exactly where he'd wanted to be found, in an alley, hiding, waiting for her approach. Hello, Xiong-hun, she'd said, stepping from the shadows. We need to talk. He'd reached for his gun, playing his role. She'd smiled. Don't bother. You're surrounded, but I'm not here to kill you. Then why are you here? Because you did well. The warehouse, the execution attempt. Minjae believes it was Kwan's doing. He doesn't know I orchestrated it. You followed orders perfectly. Xiong-hun's blood had run cold. She thought he'd been following her orders. She didn't know he'd aimed to wound, not kill. Kwan's people were thorough, Xiong-hun had said carefully. They were, and you eliminated the threats before my son died. Well done. She'd stepped closer. But now you're a loose end, the only person who knows I was involved. So I have a proposition. What kind of proposition? Work for me, directly. No more mid-level operations. You become my eyes and ears in places I can't reach. You track Minjae's recovery. You monitor the woman. You report everything to me. In exchange, I let you live, and I ensure my son never learns the truth about my involvement. And if I refuse, then you don't leave this alley, and I'll make sure certain recordings of your orders to shoot Minjae reach his ears. Even from Busan, he'd find a way to kill you. Her smile had never wavered. Choose. Xiong-hun had chosen survival, and for 3 months he'd played his role perfectly, fed the chairwoman information about Minjae's recovery, tracked Adesewa's movements, reported on every development in the underworld, including Adesewa's coalition building. But what the chairwoman didn't know was that Xiong-hun had learned a valuable lesson from 10 years serving Minjae. Always keep insurance. The real recordings of her orders were hidden, safe, backed up in 3 locations she'd never find. And now he was carefully, methodically, feeding Adesewa the information she needed while making the chairwoman think he was loyal. It was exhausting, terrifying. One wrong move and everyone died. But it was the only way to save them all. Now waiting at the docks for Adesewa, Xiong-hun pulled out a cigarette with shaking hands. This meeting was dangerous. The chairwoman had people watching him, not closely enough to hear conversations, but close enough to report who he met. He'd have to be careful, make it look like he was recruiting Adesewa, not helping her. Footsteps on the dock. Adesewa appeared from the shadows alone as instructed, but her hand was in her purse, probably on a weapon. Smart woman. Xiong-hun. Her voice was ice. Miss Akinwell. He bowed slightly, formal. Thank you for coming. You have exactly 5 minutes before I decide whether to kill you myself. Fair. He pulled out a flash drive, but didn't hand it over yet. This contains proof of everything. Recordings of the chairwoman ordering the warehouse attack. Evidence that she used Director Kwan as a weapon. Documentation that she wanted both you and Minjae eliminated. Why give this to me? Because I'm trying to keep everyone alive. He glanced over his shoulder, a calculated move to look nervous. The chairwoman thinks I'm loyal, thinks I'm tracking you for her, and I am, but I'm also giving you what you need to destroy her. That's a dangerous game. Everything about this is dangerous. He finally extended the flash drive. She's planning something big. I don't have all the details yet, but she's consolidating power faster than expected, building alliances outside Korea. Whatever she's planning, it's bigger than the syndicate. Adesewa took the drive but didn't pocket it yet. How do I know this isn't a trap? You don't. But consider, if I wanted you dead, the chairwoman would have already killed you. Why, she knows about your meetings with Park, Lee, and Choi. She knows you're building a coalition. She's allowing it because she's setting a trap, Adesewa finished. Yes, Seong-hun's voice dropped. She's using you to consolidate her enemies. When you've gathered everyone who opposes her in one place, she'll eliminate you all at once. Then why tell me? Because she needs to be stopped. And because, he looked away, because I owe Minjae everything. I betrayed him, shot him. Even though I aimed to wound, not kill, I still pulled the trigger. Even though the chairwoman ordered it, I still made the choice. I can't fix that, but maybe I can help finish what he started. He's alive, Adesewa said quietly. You know that, right? The chest shot didn't kill him. I know. I made sure it wouldn't. Seong-hun's voice cracked. When I calculated the angle, missed the heart by centimeters, called in anonymous tips to emergency services, made sure he'd be found in time. But that doesn't make pulling the trigger forgivable. No, it doesn't. I know. He pulled out a cigarette, lit it with shaking hands. The chairwoman thinks Minjae is broken, obedient, staying in Busan like a good son. But I've been watching, tracking, and I don't think he's as compliant as she believes. What makes you say that? Because I know him. 10 years I served beside him, and the man I knew doesn't give up, doesn't quit, doesn't abandon the people he loves. Seong-hun looked at her directly. He left you on that rooftop, but not because he stopped loving you, because she convinced him it was safer. And when he realizes it's not, when he realizes you're in more danger without him, he'll come back. I don't want him to come back, Adesewa lied. Yes, you do. And that terrifies you, because you don't know if you can trust him not to leave again. The words hit too close to home. This conversation is over. Adesewa pocketed the drive. Keep feeding me information. If I find out you're playing me, I'll kill you myself. Chairwoman or no chairwoman? Understood. Seong-hun bowed again. Miss Akinwale? What? When he comes back, and he will, give him a chance. He doesn't deserve it, but give it to him anyway, because the alternative is fighting this war alone. And the chairwoman is too smart, too connected, too prepared. You'll need him, just like he needs you. Adesewa walked away without responding. But Seong-hun's words echoed in her head long after she left the docks. When he comes back, not if, when. Adesewa knew she was being followed. She'd learned to recognize the signs. The same car 3 turns in a row, footsteps that matched her pace too precisely. The weight of eyes on her back. 2 men, professionals, probably armed. The chairwoman's surveillance. Expected, planned for. She didn't run. Running showed fear, and fear was blood in the water. Instead, she led them exactly where she wanted them to go. The underground parking garage of her office building was empty at 9 p.m. Perfect. No cameras in this section. She'd paid the security guard to disable them. No witnesses. Adesewa walked to her car with measured steps, then pretended to fumble with her keys. The 2 men stepped from the shadows. Miss Akinwale, the larger one said in Korean, you need to come with us, now. I don't think so. Adesewa's hand moved to her purse. You don't? The second man flashed a gun. Make this easy. Easy? Adesewa smiled. Where's the fun in that? She pressed a button on her key fob. Her car alarm didn't go off. Instead, every light in the parking garage died. The backup generator she'd paid a maintenance worker to disable stayed dark. Total blackness. What the? One of the men started. Then there was movement, fast, brutal, efficient. But it wasn't Adesewa. When the emergency lights kicked on 30 seconds later, both men were on the ground, one unconscious. the other groaning and clutching a broken arm, and standing over them, breathing hard, leaning slightly on a cane, Kang Minjae. "You shouldn't be here," Adesewa said without turning around. Her voice was carefully controlled, but her heart hammered against her ribs. "I know. You promised to stay away, on the rooftop. 6 months ago, you said goodbye." "I lied," she finally turned to face him. 6 months. He looked thinner. The cane was new, but his eyes, those dark, dangerous eyes, held the same intensity they always had. "Why?" Her voice cracked despite her best efforts. "Because staying away was supposed to keep you safe." He gestured to the unconscious men. "Clearly, that didn't work. I can handle your mother's surveillance. I can see that." His eyes swept over the tactical blackout setup, the disabled cameras, the unconscious men. "When did you learn to set up operations like this? When I decided to stop being helpless, when did you decide to break your promise?" "About 3 days after I made it." He moved closer, the cane tapping against concrete. "I've been watching you for months, Adesewa, from a distance, making sure you were safe. And then I saw you meeting with Park Lee and Choi, saw you building something, entering the same world that almost killed us both. And I realized what? That you weren't safer without me. You were just alone, fighting a war I should have been fighting beside you." Adesewa's hands clenched at her sides. "You left me, on that rooftop. You said we couldn't be together, that it was too dangerous, that loving me would destroy me. I know. You walked away." Her voice rose. "Do you know what that did to me? Watching you choose exile over us? Watching you believe your mother's lies about protection when all she wanted was control? I know. No, you don't." Tears burned her eyes. "I saved your life in that warehouse. I dragged you through fire and blood. I pressed my hands against your chest and felt you dying. And then when you survived, when we had a chance, you threw it away because she convinced you I'd be safer without you." "She was right about one thing," Minjae said quietly. "Being with me makes you a target. I was already a target. The moment I loved you, I became one. The moment I spilled champagne on you, I became one. There was no avoiding it, no running from it. The only choice was whether we faced it together or apart, and you chose apart." The words hung between them like smoke. Minjae's grip tightened on his cane. "I thought I was being noble, selfless, protecting you from the consequences of loving me. You were being a coward." The accusation hit like a slap. "Yes," he said finally, "I was." The admission surprised her. "I was afraid," Minjae continued, voice raw, "afraid that staying would get you killed. Afraid that my mother would use you against me. Afraid that loving you made me weak in a world where weakness is death. So I did what she taught me to do. I eliminated the vulnerability. I removed myself from the equation." "I'm not a vulnerability," Adesewa said. "I'm a person, with my own choices, my own agency. You didn't protect me by leaving. You just made the decision for both of us. You're right. I know I'm right. And I'm sorry." Minjae stepped closer. "I'm sorry for leaving, for believing her, for thinking that love was something to be managed instead of fought for. I spent 6 months in Busan convincing myself I was doing the right thing while you were here, alone, building an army to fight the same woman who tried to kill us both. I don't need your apologies," Adesewa said, but her voice had lost its edge. What do you need?" "I need to know you won't leave again." The words came out as a whisper. "I need to know that when things get hard, when your mother threatens us, when the danger gets real, you won't decide that noble sacrifice is better than staying and fighting. I won't leave. You said that on the rooftop. Then you left. I know." He closed the distance between them until he was close enough to touch, but kept his hands to himself. "So I'm not asking you to believe my words. I'm asking you to let me prove it. With actions, with choices, with standing beside you while we burn her empire down." Adesewa stared at him. 6 months of anger and grief and longing warred in her chest. "Your mother is 10 steps ahead," she said. "She probably wanted you to come back. Probably planned for this. Probably. This could be a trap. Definitely. We could both die. Yes." His hand finally moved, hovering near her face but not touching. But I'd rather die fighting beside you than live safely knowing I abandoned you. Again. Adesewa's breath shook. I'm still angry. Good, you should be. I don't forgive you. I don't expect you to. And I don't trust that you won't leave when things get hard. Then I'll prove it. His voice was raw with honesty. Every day, for as long as it takes, I'll prove that walking away from you was the biggest mistake of my life, that I'm done listening to her, that I'm done choosing fear over you. The air between them crackled with 6 months of separation and pain and desperate need. One chance, Adesewa said finally. You get one chance. You leave again. You break my heart again, and we're done. Forever. I won't survive it a second time. I won't leave. Prove it. He kissed her, not asking permission, not gentle, just desperate and honest and full of 6 months of regret and longing. Adesewa kissed him back just as fiercely, angry and relieved and terrified all at once. Her hands fisted in his shirt, pulling him closer, needing the proof that he was real, that he was here, that he'd chosen to come back. When they broke apart, gasping, she said, I hate that I still love you. I hate that I left you. We're going to destroy each other. Or my mother, whichever comes first. Despite everything, the anger, the fear, the impossible odds. Adesewa laughed. It sounded broken but real. Come on, she said, pulling away and heading for her car. We have work to do. Where are we going? Safe house. I have 6 months of planning to show you. She looked back at him. And you have 6 months of groveling to do. Fair. They stepped over the unconscious surveillance team and left the parking garage together. Neither of them saw the third operative hidden in the shadows, the one with the direct line to Chairwoman Kang, the one already dialing her number, the one reporting. They've reunited, just as you predicted, ma'am. The chairwoman listened to the report with a smile that would have terrified anyone who knew her well. They've reunited, her operative reported. The parking garage. She disabled security. He eliminated my men. They're moving to a safe house now. Perfect. She set down her teacup with precise delicacy. And did they notice your surveillance? No, ma'am. I maintain distance as ordered. Excellent. Continue monitoring. I want to know everything they plan. She ended the call and turned to Han Ji-won, who'd been listening from across her office. Your son returned just as you predicted, Ji-won said. Of course he did. The chairwoman moved to her window overlooking Hanul City. I know my son. I raised him, trained him. I knew he'd last exactly as long as it took to convince himself that leaving was wrong. You manipulated him into exile knowing he'd come back? I manipulated him into believing exile was his choice, that staying away was noble, that love made him weak. She smiled. And when that illusion cracked, when he realized the woman he loved was in danger, he came running back, exactly as planned. Why allow the separation at all? Because I needed him to think he was making his own choices, to believe he was defying me by returning. She pulled out her phone, scrolling through surveillance photos of Adesewa's meetings with syndicate operators. Miss Akinwale has been busy, building coalitions, gathering my enemies. She thinks she's forming an army to fight me. She is forming an army. She's gathering my targets in one convenient location. The chairwoman's voice was ice and satisfaction. Every person she recruits is someone I needed to eliminate anyway. Every connection she makes is a thread I can pull to unravel all my opposition at once. She's doing my work for me. And Minjae. We'll add his remaining loyalists to her coalition. We'll help her strategize. We'll make her feel powerful and protected. She turned from the window. And when they've built something they think can challenge me, when they've consolidated all their resources, all their allies, all their hope, I'll destroy it, all of it, in one move. The evidence they're gathering is meaningless when the authorities work for me. The police commissioner is in my pocket. The federal prosecutors owe me their careers. Even if they release every recording, every document, every piece of proof, it will be dismissed as fabricated. Desperate lies from a mentally unstable son and his foreign accomplice. Ji-won nodded slowly. You've thought of everything. I always do. She pulled up a file on her tablet. This is Baek Seong-hun. He's been playing both sides, reporting to me while feeding the woman information. Should I eliminate him? No. He's useful, Every piece of intelligence he gives her comes from me. Every secret he reveals is one I want revealed. He thinks he's helping them. He's actually helping me control exactly what they know. And if he realizes you're aware, he won't. He's too consumed with guilt over shooting Minjae to see clearly. Her smile widened. Guilt makes people predictable. And predictable people are tools. She sent a series of text messages, her fingers moving efficiently across the screen. I'm accelerating the timeline, she told Ji-won. I want them desperate in 3 weeks, feeling the pressure, making mistakes, and then, she set down her phone. Then we spring the trap, and my son learns the final lesson I've been trying to teach him for 30 years, which is that love doesn't make you strong, it makes you vulnerable. And in our world, vulnerable means dead. Her eyes glittered. He thinks reuniting with that woman gives him power. I'll show him it gives me leverage. And when I'm finished, he'll understand that I was protecting him all along. By destroying the woman he loves, by showing him what happens when he defies me. She returned to her desk. He chose her over my advice, won over my protection, over the empire I built for him, so he'll lose her. And when he does, when he's broken and alone, he'll finally understand. Mother knows best. Ji-won shifted uncomfortably. And if he doesn't break, if losing her makes him more dangerous, the chairwoman's smile turned cold. Then I'll break him another way. But one way or another, my son will learn. Love is a weakness. Power is all that matters. And I will not tolerate defiance. She pulled up a surveillance feed, live video from the safe house where Minjae and Adesewa were currently planning. Watch them, she said, turning the screen so Ji-won could see. Watch them plan and scheme and fall in love all over again. Watch them think they're winning. On screen, Minjae and Adesewa stood over a table covered in documents, their heads close together, discussing strategy. And it would be almost touching, the chairwoman said, if it wasn't so pathetically predictable. She closed the feed and stood. Let them have tonight. Tomorrow we begin tightening the noose. But what the chairwoman didn't see, what her surveillance couldn't capture, was the small device Adesewa had planted in her office 3 weeks ago. A listening device, recording every word, every plan, every manipulation. Adesewa had learned from the best. Always have insurance. Always plan 3 steps ahead. Always assume your enemy is smarter than you think. The chairwoman thought she was playing chess, but Adesewa had changed the game. The safe house was in Gangnam, expensive, anonymous, perfect for secrets. Minjae and Adesewa spread documents across the dining table. 6 months of planning from both sides finally combined. This is everyone I've recruited, Adesewa said, pointing to a list of names. Park Lee and Choi are the core coalition. Below them, I have connections to mid-level operators across 3 districts. Park is compromised, Minjae said immediately. He reports to my mother. I know. That's why I feed him limited information. Let him think he's getting valuable intelligence while I work around him. Minjae looked at her with something like awe. You've gotten ruthless. I learned from you and from 6 months of survival. She pulled up more files. I also have the Port Authority Deputy Director. Though I suspect your mother knows about him too. She knows everything, Minjae said grimly. He showed her his own files. I have 12 former soldiers loyal to me, not her. Safe houses in 3 cities. Weapons caches she doesn't know about. And he pulled out a document. Proof that she's been embezzling from the syndicate for years, moving money to offshore accounts under different names. That's not enough to take her down. No, but it's leverage if we need it. He showed her another file. And this is a list of her Chinese suppliers. I've been in contact with their rivals, building alternate relationships. If we can convince the current suppliers she's planning to betray them, they'll cut ties, Adesewa finished, leaving her without product. Exactly. They worked late into the night, combining intelligence, cross-referencing sources, building a strategy that accounted for the chairwoman knowing far more than they'd like. She's watching us right now, Adesewa said suddenly. Minjae looked up. What? Your mother. She's probably monitoring this safe house, listening, recording, analyzing every word we say. How do you know? Because that's what I would do. Adesewa pulled out a small device from her pocket. which is why I've been feeding her exactly what I want her to hear. She activated the device. White noise filled the room, a signal jammer. This blocks audio surveillance. Everything we've said for the past 3 hours, scripted, performance, things I wanted her to hear. Adesewa's smile was sharp. Now we can talk about the real plan. Minjae stared at her. Who are you? Someone who learned that the best way to beat a manipulator is to out-manipulate them. She pulled out a second set of documents, the real ones. Everything I showed you before? Decoy, real enough to be believable, but ultimately useless to her. This is the actual coalition, the real evidence, the plan she doesn't know about. You've been playing her for 3 months, ever since I planted a listening device in her office. Minjae's eyebrows shot up. You did what? I got hired by her office cleaning company, went in as a temporary worker, planted a bug in her private office that looks like part of the phone system. Adesewa pulled up an audio file on her laptop. I've been recording every conversation she has, every order she gives, every manipulation she plans. She hit play. The chairwoman's voice filled the room. Let them plan. Let them scheme. When they've consolidated all my enemies in one place, I'll destroy them all at once. Minjae's face went pale. She knows. Everything we're doing, she knows. She knows what I've let her know, but she doesn't know about this. Adesewa pulled out a flash drive. This is Xianghun's evidence. Real recordings of her ordering the warehouse hit. Proof that she wanted both of us dead. Combined with my recordings of her current plans, we have everything we need to destroy her. Xianghun is helping you? He's helping both of us. Playing double agent. Reporting to your mother while feeding me intelligence. Adesewa's expression softened. He feels guilty for shooting you, even though you survived. I know. Minjae's hand moved unconsciously to his chest. When I figured out months ago that the chest shot was calculated, that he aimed to wound, not kill, that someone called in the emergency services, it had to be him. Are you going to forgive him? Eventually, maybe. It's complicated. Minjae turned off the signal jammer, letting the surveillance resume. So what's the real plan? Adesewa leaned close, lips nearly touching his ear, voice barely a whisper. We let her think she's winning, let her gather all her resources for the trap she's planning, and then we flip it. Use her own strategy against her. Turn her trap into ours. How? By going public, not with the evidence we've shown her, with everything, every recording, every manipulation, every crime. We release it all simultaneously to international media, to authorities outside Korea, to organizations she can't control. She'll spin it, make us look crazy. That's where Xianghun comes in. He testifies, publicly, with lawyers present, confirms everything. A live witness is harder to discredit than recordings. Minjae thought about it. It's risky. If she moves against us before we can execute, that's why we have a dead man switch. If anything happens to us, the information releases automatically. She can't stop it without keeping us alive. You've thought of everything? I've had 6 months and a lot of rage to fuel my planning. Adesewa pulled back, speaking at normal volume again for the surveillance. So that's the coalition strategy. What do you think? Minjae played along. I think we need to move faster. She's consolidating too quickly. They continued the performance, feeding the chairwoman false information while the real plan stayed hidden. And somewhere in the conversation, their hands touched. Their eyes met. The air shifted. Adesewa, Minjae started. We need to focus, she said, but her voice had gone soft. I am focused. On you. Minjae, I know we need to plan. I know my mother is probably listening to every word. I know this is dangerous. He stood, moving around the table. But I've spent 6 months away from you, and I don't want to waste another second pretending I don't need this. Need what? You. Us. This. He stopped in front of her. I know I don't deserve it after leaving. I know I haven't earned back your trust, but I'm asking anyway. Give me a chance. Let me prove I'm not the man who walked away. Adesewa stood facing him. And who are you now? Someone who knows what matters. Someone who won't choose fear over love. Someone who'll burn my mother's empire to ash if it means keeping you safe. That's not healthy. I'm not a healthy man. His hands framed her face. But I'm yours if you want me. Adesewa's breath caught. This is a terrible idea. The best ones usually are. She kissed him. Slow, deliberate, permission and promise all at once. We're going to regret this, she murmured against his lips. Probably. Your mother will use it against us. Definitely. We should establish boundaries, rules. Tomorrow. He kissed her again. Tonight, I just want to remember what it feels like to hold you. They moved to the bedroom, and for a few hours, the war waited. For a few hours, they were just two people who'd found each other in the darkness and refused to let go. For a few hours, love won. Tomorrow, they'd face the chairwoman's machinations. Tonight, they faced each other, and that was enough. In her office, the chairwoman listened to the surveillance feed and smiled. They'd turned on a signal jammer for exactly 14 minutes, which meant they'd discuss something they didn't want her to hear. Perfect. It meant they thought they were being clever. It meant they thought they had secrets. It meant they'd be overconfident. And overconfidence was a weakness she could exploit. Jiwan, she called, send someone to check the safe house for listening devices. They're planning something. I want to know what. But what she didn't know was that the signal jammer had actually been recording. Recording her surveillance team, recording their reports, giving Adesewa proof of the chairwoman's monitoring. More evidence for the pile, more ammunition for the war. The game had layers upon layers, and both sides thought they were winning. If you're on the edge of your seat, drop a like and comment checkmate, because someone's about to win this game, and someone's about to lose everything. Don't go anywhere. The old dock smelled like salt water and rust. Adesewa arrived at midnight, alone as Seong-hun had requested, but Minjae was positioned 200 yards away with a rifle scope, watching, just in case. They weren't taking chances anymore. Seong-hun stepped from the shadows, looking worse than she'd seen him at their first meeting. Thinner, haunted, like a man being slowly consumed by guilt. Miss Akinwale, his bow was stiff. Seong-hun, you said you had something important. I do. He pulled out another flash drive. This is everything, not just the warehouse, everything the chairwoman has done for the past 5 years. Every order, every manipulation, every crime. Adesewa took it carefully. Where did you get this? I've been recording since I started working for her. Insurance initially, then evidence. And then he lit a cigarette with shaking hands. Then penance. Penance? For shooting Minjae. For betraying him. Seong-hun exhaled smoke. I know I aimed to wound. I know I called emergency services. I know I did everything I could to save him while following her orders, but I still pulled the trigger. I still made the choice, and I need to make it right. You can't. I know, his voice cracked, but I can try. I can give you the weapons to destroy her. I can testify publicly. I can face the consequences of my choices. The chairwoman will kill you. Probably, but at least I'll die doing the right thing, instead of living with this guilt. He gestured to the flash drive. That has everything. Bank records, communications, proof of murders she ordered, evidence of corruption reaching into the government. It's enough to bring down her entire empire. And you're willing to testify to all of it? Yes, whenever you're ready. I'll stand in front of cameras and tell the world what she is, what she's done, what she ordered me to do. Adesewa studied him. You know this destroys your life too. You'll face criminal charges, prison time. You won't walk away clean. I don't deserve to walk away clean. Seong-hun dropped his cigarette, crushing it under his heel. I deserve to pay for what I did. But before I do, I want to make sure she pays too. That Minjae and you get justice. That her empire burns. Why now? Why not 3 months ago when you first started helping me? Because 3 months ago, I was still afraid, still hoping I could fix this without destroying myself in the process. He met her eyes. But I've realized something. You can't fix betrayal. You can only atone for it. And atonement requires sacrifice. Adesewa pocketed the flash drive. There's something you should know. Minjae is here, watching right now. He knows about our meetings. He knows you've been helping. Seong-hun's breath caught. He's here? 200 yards northeast, rifle scope, making sure you're not leading me into a trap. Can I see him? Adesewa pulled out her phone, sending a text to Minjae. He wants to see you. Your call. The response was immediate. No. She showed Seong-hun the screen. His face crumpled. I understand. He's not ready to forgive you. Might never be. But he knows what you're doing. Knows you're trying to help. And that? Adesewa chose her words carefully. That's something. It's more than I deserve. Yes, it is. She turned to leave, and then paused. Seong-hun? Yes? When this is over, when we've destroyed her empire and you're facing your consequences, I'll make sure Minjae knows the full truth about the calculated shot, about the emergency services, about everything you did to save him. I can't promise he'll forgive you, but I can promise he'll know. Thank you. Adesewa walked away, leaving Seong-hun alone on the docks. From 200 yards away, Minjae watched through his scope as Seong-hun stood there, shoulders shaking, crying probably. His finger hovered over his phone. He could call him, could talk, could begin the long, complicated process of forgiveness. But not yet. Not while the chairwoman still breathed free air. Not while the war was unfinished. Maybe after. Maybe when it was done. Maybe. 3 weeks later, everything was ready. The evidence compiled. The witnesses prepared. The international media contacted. The dead man switches activated. Adesewa and Minjae stood in a hotel room, reviewing the plan one final time. Tomorrow at 2 p.m., we hold the press conference, Adesewa said. Every major outlet in Korea plus international press. We release everything simultaneously. Your mother's crimes, the warehouse orchestration, the embezzlement, the government corruption. Seong-hun testifies live, Minjae added, confirms everything, gives them a human face to attach to the evidence. And we have the dead man's switch. If anything happens to us, it all goes public anyway. She can't stop it without keeping us alive. She'll try to spin it, make us look crazy. Let her try. We have too much evidence, too many sources, too many international organizations reviewing it. Adesewa pulled up her laptop. I've already sent copies to international news outlets she can't control. Even if she owns Korea, she doesn't own the world. Minjae nodded. And after, when we burned her empire down, after we see what's left, we rebuild, we move forward. She looked at him. Together. Together, he agreed. They didn't sleep that night, just held each other, knowing that tomorrow everything changed. Win or lose, live or die, together. The press conference room was packed. Every major news outlet in Korea. International press, cameras everywhere, reporters shouting questions before they'd even started. Adesewa stood at the podium, Minjae beside her, Seong-hun flanked by lawyers and federal protection officers. The room erupted with questions, camera flashes, chaos. Adesewa raised a hand. Silence gradually fell. Thank you for coming. We have information about the White Serpent Syndicate, about crimes committed, about orders given, about the truth behind Hanyul City's underworld. She nodded to Minjae. He stepped forward, confident, clear. 6 months ago, there was an attack on a warehouse. The official story is that it was a gang war between the White Serpent Syndicate and Director Kwan's organization. Many believed I died in that attack. He paused. Let the implications settle. I didn't die. I survived. And the attack wasn't a gang war. It was orchestrated by Chairwoman Kang, my mother, to eliminate me and consolidate power. The room exploded. Adesewa continued, voice rising above the chaos. We have proof, recordings, documents, financial records, a testimony from the man who was ordered to carry out the execution. Seong-hun stepped forward, visibly shaking but determined. My name is Baek Seong-hun. I served Kang Minjae for 10 years as his lieutenant. 6 months ago, Chairwoman Kang ordered me to kill him and his companion, Adesewa Akinwell. I have recordings of those orders. I have evidence. And today, I'm willing to testify to everything. For the next hour, they laid it out. Every piece of evidence, every recording, every document, the embezzlement, the warehouse, the manipulation, the government corruption reaching into police departments and prosecutors' offices. Chairwoman Kang's empire, exposed in excruciating detail. We're releasing all of this publicly, Adesewa said, to domestic and international media, to federal authorities, to organizations outside Korea who can investigate without interference. The truth can no longer be hidden. Why now? A reporter shouted. Why come forward after 6 months? Minjae and Adesewa exchanged a look. Because silence is complicity, Minjae said, and we're done being silent. The press conference ended. The evidence went live. Within an hour, it was trending worldwide. Hashtag White Serpent Exposed, hashtag Chairwoman Kang, hashtag Hanul City Truth, hashtag Korean Corruption. Social media exploded. International news picked it up. Calls for investigation began. Adesewa and Minjae watched from a secure location, monitoring the response. It's working, she said. People are talking, demanding answers. My mother will respond, Minjae said grimly. This isn't over. He was right. By evening, the chairwoman held her own press conference. She stood at a podium, elegant and composed, every inch the grieving mother. I am devastated by these allegations, she said, voice trembling with perfectly crafted emotion. My son, who I thought was healing from trauma, has returned. Not to rebuild our relationship, not to heal, but to destroy me with fabricated evidence and lies. She produced documents. These are psychiatric evaluations showing that Kang Minjae suffered severe psychological trauma from the warehouse attack. He's been diagnosed with PTSD, paranoid delusions, and conspiracy ideation. He's not well. And this woman, she displayed Adesewa's photo. She's exploiting his mental state for her own agenda. The recordings you heard? Audio manipulation technology can fake anyone's voice. We have forensic experts prepared to testify that these files have been digitally altered. The documents? Sophisticated forgeries. We're pursuing legal action for defamation, fraud, and conspiracy. She looked directly into the camera. I love my son. I want him to get the help he needs. I'm offering him a chance. Surrender peacefully. Submit to psychiatric evaluation. Get treatment, or face the legal consequences of this massive fraud. The public reaction split. Some believed the chairwoman, some believed Minjae and Adesewa. Social media became a battlefield. She's good, Adesewa admitted, watching the broadcast. Really good. She's had 30 years of practice manipulating people. Minjae's phone rang. Unknown number. He answered. Hello, son. The chairwoman's voice was ice. Enjoying your moment in the spotlight? You're finished, mother. The evidence is too strong. The international scrutiny too intense. Am I? Wait, because from where I'm sitting, I've just painted you as a traumatized, mentally ill man being manipulated by a foreign woman. Half the country believes me. The authorities I control are already building a fraud case against you. The international outlets don't control what happens in Korea, where you are, where she is. Her voice dropped. You made a mistake coming back, Minjae. You should have stayed in Busan. Now you've forced me to finish what the warehouse started. What are you going to do? What I should have done 6 months ago. Eliminate the problem, permanently. The line went dead. Minjae turned to Adesewa. We need to move, now. But they were already too late. The door exploded inward. Not police this time. Armed mercenaries. Professional, lethal. Down! Minjae shouted. Pulling Adesewa behind cover as bullets tore through the safe house. Bullets shredded the safe house. Minjae returned fire, his movements precise despite the cane he'd discarded. 6 years of training didn't disappear just because you'd been shot and exiled. Kitchen, he shouted to Adesewa. Back exit. But Adesewa wasn't running. She'd grabbed the second gun he'd stashed under the couch and was providing covering fire with surprising accuracy. When did you learn to shoot? Minjae yelled over the chaos. 6 months of preparation. She took down one mercenary with a clean shot. I told you, I'm not helpless anymore. They fought their way to the kitchen, back to back, moving like they'd trained together for years instead of being separated for months. Love and muscle memory. The back exit was clear. They burst through into the alley. A black van screeched to a halt in front of them. The door slid open. Song-hun sat in the driver's seat, face grim. Get in! Now! Minjae hesitated for a fraction of a second. We don't have time for pride, Song-hun shouted. She sent 3 teams. This is the only way out. Adesewa grabbed Minjae's arm and pulled him into the van. Xiong'un floored it as bullets pinged off the metal. How did you know? Minjae demanded. I'm still monitoring the chairwoman's communications. I heard the order to eliminate you both. Xiong'un wove through traffic with professional precision. She's done playing games. The press conference forced her hand. Now it's all-out war. Where are we going? Somewhere she can't reach. I have a boat at the marina. We get you out of Korea. Tonight. No! Adesewa's voice was steel. We're not running. You don't have a choice. She's mobilized everything. Mercenaries, corrupt police, every asset she has. You can't fight this. Watch us. Xiong'un's eyes met hers in the rearview mirror. She'll kill you. She'll try. Adesewa pulled out her phone. But we have insurance she doesn't know about. She made a call. It's me. Execute Plan Omega. On the other end, someone confirmed receipt. Adesewa hung up and smiled. Done. What did you just do? Minjae asked. Activated our dead man's switch, but not the one your mother knows about. The real one. She pulled up her laptop, typing rapidly. Remember when I said I planted a listening device in her office? Yes. I planted 5. In her office, her car, her home, her private meeting room, and her phone. Adesewa's fingers flew across the keyboard. For 3 months, I've been recording everything, every order, every conversation, every crime. And I just sent all of it, every second, to every international media outlet, every human rights organization, every law enforcement agency outside Korea. She'll spin it. She can't spin her own voice ordering assassinations, threatening judges, bribing politicians, planning murders. Adesewa turned the laptop screen toward him. It's already going viral. 20 million views in the first 10 minutes. On screen, audio clips played with subtitles. Chairwoman Kang. Kill them both. Make it look like a murder-suicide. The son was unstable. Killed his girlfriend, then himself. Chairwoman Kang. The prosecutor is asking too many questions. Have him removed. Make it look like an accident. Chairwoman Kang. I don't care how many people die. Burn that district to the ground if you have to. I want that property. Clip after clip. And crime after crime. In her own voice. Undeniable. Minjae stared. You recorded everything. I learned from you. Always have insurance. Always plan ahead. Always make sure your enemy thinks they know your plan while you execute a different one. Xiong'un laughed from the driver's seat. It sounded slightly hysterical. You magnificent, terrifying woman. You just ended her. Not yet, but I will. Adesewa made another call. It's done. The evidence is live. Execute the arrests. She hung up. Who was that? Minjae asked. International Criminal Court. I've been in contact with them for 6 weeks, providing evidence, building a case. They've been waiting for enough proof to move. She smiled. They just got it. The chairwoman knew something was wrong when her phone started ringing. Not one call, dozens, hundreds. News alerts, social media notifications, messages from allies demanding explanations. She pulled up her tablet and her blood ran cold. Audio clips, everywhere. Her voice, her orders, her crimes. Undeniable, unavoidable, viral. Hashtag Chairwoman Kang Exposed was the top trend worldwide. Every news outlet was playing the recordings. Every social media platform was sharing them. Every government agency outside Korea was demanding investigations. How? She started. Jiwon burst into her office. Ma'am, we have a problem. International authorities are requesting your presence for questioning. The Korean government is under pressure to cooperate. And, he paused, and there are warrants, international arrest warrants. That's impossible. You control Korea. You don't control the International Criminal Court, or Interpol, or the FBI. Jiwon's face was pale. They're coming, within hours. The chairwoman stood, mind racing. She'd planned for many scenarios. Not this. Not international jurisdiction. Not evidence so overwhelming that even her bought officials couldn't ignore it. We leave. Now. I have accounts in... They've frozen your accounts. All of them. International sanctions. Asset seizures. Jiwon looked terrified. Ma'am, I don't think there's a way out of this. The chairwoman moved to her window, looking out at Hanul City. Her empire, crumbling because of a Nigerian woman with a recorder and a grudge. Her phone rang. Unknown number. She answered. "Hello, Mother." Minjae's voice was calm, cold. "You did this. No, you did this. And with every order, every crime, every life you destroyed. I just made sure the world knew about it. I was protecting you. You were controlling me. There's a difference." His voice hardened. "And now it's over. The authorities are coming for you. International jurisdiction. You can't buy your way out of this. Can't manipulate your way free. You're going to prison. For the rest of your life. I'm your mother. No, you're the woman who gave birth to me and then spent 30 years trying to turn me into a weapon. A real mother would have loved me. You only loved power." Silence. "I have one question," Minjae said finally. "Did you ever love me? Even once? Even a little?" The chairwoman looked at her reflection in the window, at the empire she'd built, at the legacy she'd created. "I loved what you could have been," she said quietly. "Why, the king of this city, my successor, my masterpiece, but not who I was. No." The admission came easier than expected. "You were too soft, too emotional, too human. I tried to fix that, to make you stronger. But that woman," her voice filled with venom, "she made you weaker. No, Mother, she made me better, and that's what you could never understand." Minjae's voice softened. "Goodbye. I won't visit you in prison. I won't write. I won't think of you. You're dead to me now, just like you tried to make me." He hung up. The chairwoman stood alone in her office as sirens approached. She'd built an empire and lost a son. In the end, she wasn't sure which hurt more. The arrest was broadcast live. International authorities, Korean police forced to cooperate, media everywhere. Chairwoman Kang, elegant to the end, walked out in handcuffs with her head high. But her empire was already crumbling. Operators fleeing, allies turning, the syndicate collapsing like a house of cards. 3 months later, the trial began. The evidence was overwhelming. Her own voice, her own orders. Witnesses lining up to testify. Seung-hoon testified first. Detailed, honest, brutal. Then came others. People she'd threatened, bribed, destroyed. The chairwoman's lawyers fought. But there was no fighting this. The verdict came on a cold December afternoon. Guilty on all counts. Life imprisonment. No possibility of parole. International jurisdiction meant she'd serve time in a facility outside Korea. Away from everyone she'd controlled. Alone. Exactly what she'd tried to do to her son. 6 months after the trial, Adesewa and Minjae stood in a small cafe in Busan. Their cafe. Built with honest money, legitimate business. No syndicate, no crime, no blood, just coffee, pastries, ocean views, and peace. "Your mother sent another letter," Adesewa said, pouring coffee for a customer. "From prison. What does it say?" "I didn't open it. I figured that's your choice." Minjae took the envelope, stared at it for a long moment, then threw it in the trash unopened. "Not interested." "You sure?" "Completely." He pulled Adesewa close. "I spent 30 years trying to earn her love, trying to be what she wanted, trying to make her proud. And I finally realized she's incapable of love. She only understands power and control, and I'm done giving her either. No regrets? About her? Number. About leaving you? She every day." He kissed her forehead. "Which is why I'm never leaving again." "Good, because I'd hunt you down. I know, you're terrifying. I learned from the best." They worked the rest of the day in comfortable rhythm, serving customers, making coffee, living the quiet life they'd earned through fire and blood. That evening, closing up, Minjae's phone buzzed. A message from Seong-hoon, who was serving a reduced sentence in a minimum security facility for his cooperation. "They're letting me out early. 6 more months. Good behavior. When I get out, do you think we could talk?" "I understand if the answer is no, but I had to ask." Minjae showed the message to Adesewa. "What do you think?" "I think forgiveness is a process, not a moment. She touched his hand. But I also think he's been trying, testifying, serving time. He helping us destroy her. That counts for something. Minjae typed, when you get out, come to Busan. We'll talk. No promises, but we'll talk. The response was immediate. Thank you. That's more than I deserve. Minjae pocketed his phone. Come on, let's go home. They walked along the beach, hand in hand as the sun set over the ocean. Hey, Adesewa said suddenly, I have something to tell you. What? She pulled out a small plastic stick with 2 pink lines. Minjae stared at it for a full minute. We're having a baby, he said finally. We're having a baby. Are you? How do you feel? Terrified, excited, happy. She took his hands. How do you feel? Like I don't deserve this. Like I don't know how to be a father. Like I'm going to mess this up spectacularly because the only parenting I knew was manipulation and control. Yeah, me too. My dad left. My mom barely survived. I have no idea what I'm doing. They stood there, 2 former criminals trying to figure out how to raise a child. We'll figure it out, Minjae said. Together? Always. He kissed her, soft, reverent, full of promises. Our child will never know the world we came from, he said. They'll grow up safe, loved, free, with parents who actually love each other. Boring parents, Adesewa added. Wonderfully boring. No syndicates, no warehouses, no assassination attempts. Just coffee, ocean views, and love. Sounds perfect. It is. They held each other on the beach as the sun disappeared below the horizon, painting the sky in shades of gold and pink. 2 people who'd been broken and rebuilt, who'd loved and lost and fought and won. Who'd learned that sometimes the greatest victory isn't power or revenge. It's peace. It's choice. It's waking up every morning next to someone who sees all your scars and loves you anyway. I love you, Adesewa said. I love you too. And this time, those words came with no conditions, no fears, no escapes planned, just truth. Simple and pure and honest. 3 years later, the cafe had expanded to 3 locations. Tunda had graduated medical school and was working at a prestigious hospital in Seoul, engaged to a wonderful woman who made him laugh. Adesewa's mother had moved to Busan, spending her days spoiling her grandchild and teaching Minjae family recipes. Seong-hun had been released from prison. He worked at the cafe now, a quiet employee who never talked about the past but showed up every day trying to earn a redemption he'd never fully achieve. He and Minjae had talked, long conversations that didn't fix everything, but made some things bearable. Forgiveness was still a process, but it was happening. And in the back office of the main cafe, Minjae watched his daughter, 2 years old, black curly hair, brown skin, his dark eyes play with building blocks while Adesewa handled the morning rush. Appa, she called, holding up a tower. Look, beautiful, sweetheart. She beamed and immediately knocked it down to build again. Minjae's phone buzzed. A news alert. Chairwoman Kang denied parole. Will serve remainder of life sentence in international facility. He deleted the notification without reading the full article. She was part of a past he'd left behind. His future was here. In this cafe, with this woman, with this child, with this impossibly normal, wonderfully boring, absolutely perfect life. Adesewa appeared in the doorway. Hey, customer rush is over. Want to take her to the beach? Yes. They walked as a family along the same beach where they'd shared their first post-exile kiss, where they'd planned their revenge, and where they'd promised to build something new. And they had. Their daughter ran ahead, chasing seagulls, laughing with pure joy. We did it, Adesewa said quietly. What? Built something good. Despite everything, despite the violence and the betrayal and the trauma, we built something good. Minjae pulled her close. We built everything. And as the sun rose over the ocean, painting the world in gold, 3 people who shouldn't exist stood together. A former Mafia boss, a woman who'd crossed an ocean and learned to fight, and a child who would never know the darkness her parents had survived. Love had won, not because it was easy, not because it was simple, but because 2 broken people had chosen to be broken together. And in that choice, they'd found something unbreakable. If this story destroyed you, healed you, and left you believing in love again, Smash that subscribe button. Drop a comment telling me your favorite moment. Was it the parking garage reunion? The chairwoman's downfall? The beach ending? Let me know. Comment below and let me know what stories you want next. Thank you for taking this journey with me, for believing that broken things can become beautiful, for understanding that the greatest power is choosing love over revenge, peace over power, and tomorrow over yesterday. Until next time, stay dangerous, stay in love, and never forget, you are worthy of a love that fights for you.